All right, let's go to Rookie of the Year, Mr. Josh. Who do you got? And I think we're gonna be on the same page here too.
It's going to be very close because it's a really close race between Kon Knueppel and Cooper Flagg, and it's a very heated debate, and I get both sides. I'm actually going to go Kon Knueppel. Did you go Kon or did you go Cooper?
I went Cooper.
Interesting. So we have both sides. To me, it was so close. The difference is Kon was actually playing games that mattered, and Cooper wasn't. That was like the
Ouch!
difference maker for me.
Ouch, Josh. Hopefully, Cooper Flag doesn't watch this podcast because he's gonna be very hurt by what
Listen,
you
win
just.
more games and then it matters. But
That is true.
Cooper Flag, I think, is incredible. I think if I were to take a player for the next 5 years, I would probably take Cooper Flag. But if we're talking about this individual season, Kon Knueppel was on fire for three on a team that was playing for the play-in and was at some points even out of the play-in in the sixth seed. Like he was an extremely important part of that team, and yes, obviously Cooper Flagg's an extremely important part of the Mavericks, but the Mavericks weren't playing for much. They've been out of the playoff race for almost the entire year, and not even close to like even the play-in. So like, if it's going to be, if they're both have incredible numbers, if they both have taken over games, if they both have done all this type of stuff, the tiebreaker for me is that like Khan's on a team that was in the play-in and was in games mattered a lot more than Cooper Flagg, who was on a team where all those games, like to be honest, it didn't matter because they weren't close to the playoffs.
Yeah, I still give it to Flag. I mean, a lot of times, especially rookie years, outside of like a few exceptions, their teams are not really good because they were the first round pick. First round picks. The teams are not good the next year. So Cooper did his best to keep that team uh, relevant. I think that I do agree with you that maybe wasn't playing important games, but that's also speaking about the team around him. I think if Dallas had a team around him, it would be a different story. Like if you put Cooper Flag on the Lakers with Braun or Luca was on the Mavericks, I think it'd be a different story. So I get what you're saying with that, but also too, I think that you have to just these are awards. Sometimes I think we try to too much look at team success when you really need to look at individual success because it's an individual award. Um, and that's just me. That's just my how I look at
Well,
it.
here's a question I'll ask you: was Cooper Flagg the best player on the Mavericks this year?
Yes.
So if that's the case, then his team not winning, I put more weight on that because he's carrying the weight of his team more. And maybe it's fair to say, well, I mean, if he's the best player on the team as a rookie, it doesn't that means he shouldn't be expected to win. But Khan was up there for one of the best players on the Hornets, and he was one of the main reasons they were able to win on a couple of those moments, in my opinion. Yes, Ball is clearly the best player, and yes, if Cooper was on a different team, then something else would have happened. But like, I don't know, it's close. Like the reason, like if Cooper was having like a like two times better season than Khan, I would agree with you. Because it's so close between the two of them, because Kon Knueppel set the record for 3 points made for a rookie, because he was that good, where he was on par, if not maybe a little below Cooper when it comes to this type of stuff. The tiebreakers for me is going to be team success. I agree with you where it's like if someone's clearly better, but the other person who's second is like clearly worse, and then the team success isn't there. I'll agree with you. Go with the person who's clearly better. I don't think Cooper has clearly had a better season than Khan. I don't think that's the gap between Cooper and Khan is big enough where team success doesn't matter.
Okay. I see where you're coming from. All right.
I
And
just
let's.
I just want
Oh,
to
sorry.
say about the whole thing that I think it's really hard to be rookie of the year as the number one overall pick because expectations for you are so high. And if you don't meet those expectations, they're going to start looking at other players, especially if your team's still bad. And I think they probably will give it to Kon Knueppel because his team was better. But I think it's like a coin flip between the two of them personally.
Absolutely, and I will say I think it is more of a coin flip. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I'm just like, for me, the tiebreaker was team success because that is like the difference, the clear difference between the two.
Yeah.
All right. And we're gonna move on to MVP. Josh, who is your MVP?
I think this might be a very, very hot take. My MVP is Victor Wembanyama, in my opinion. He's the person, if I had to vote, I would vote for. I think the fact that he's clearly the best defensive player of the year, the fact that he also was an incredible offensive player, and the fact that if you're talking about most valuable, if you take off Victor from the Spurs, I'm not sure they might be a play-in team. I'm not sure if they're anywhere close to the 2 seed. I think he is so important to that team and so like such a hard player to game plan around and the stats are there. I mean, they're not as good as Jokic and SGA, of course. Like if you're talking about pure stats, it's going to go to Jokic or SGA. But I think Victor has had just as big of an impact as as the Joker, as SGA, and in my opinion, if I had a vote, the fact that the Spurs are a 2 seed, I like to include team success as a big point for my awards picks. I'm not going to make it the end all be all, but if I'm having a hard time choosing, if someone really overachieved what their team is supposed to do, I'm going to give them credit for that. And the fact that Victor Wembanyama is clearly the number one player on the Spurs, clearly the best defensive player, and I'm going to like count the defense toward not just the offense. It's just like, oh, he's clearly the best defensive player and one of the best offensive players and he had such an incredible season that took the Spurs to the 2 seed and all of that. Maybe the stats, offensive stats, don't line up with between him versus SGA versus Joker, but I think the defense bridges the gap for me, and because of that, I would go Victor Wembanyama.
I would actually agree with you. I just went with SGA only because of how good the Thunder have been. Um, I think that if you take SGA off the Thunder, they're still a decent team, but he like puts them over the top and makes them that once he makes them an NBA champion. I think I agree with you with Wembyana too. That if you take them off the Spurs, are they a play-in team? Are they even making the playoffs? Maybe, but I do understand where you're coming from as far as defense with Wembyama and how good he's become at defense, and also how good his offense has been becoming. So I think it's kind of the same thing when we are talking about rookie of the year. It's kind of a coin flip. Like they're the first seed and the second seed. You can kind of just take your pick.
Absolutely,
Um,
and like SGA like is going to win it, and it's a deserved MVP most likely. Like I think he's going to win it, and I think it's deserved. I'm not going to be like, oh, Victor should have definitely won it over him. It's like no, there's a very good argument for SGA over Wembanyama. There's a very good argument for Joe. I think this is one of those MVP seasons where you could make a legitimate argument for like 6 different people. I think you can make an SGA argument. I think you can make a Joker argument. Can make. I just made the Wemby argument. You can definitely make a Luca argument, and you could definitely make a either Cade Cunningham or Jalen Brown argument.
yeah,
Like it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm going to ask you this. We didn't plan for this, but like it's going to be very clear that the first team All NBA's the last spot is either going to go to Cade or Jalen Brown. And I'm very interested. Which one would you give it to?
I'd probably go Cade
I
because he's
think
just
so
had
too,
an
but it's
amazing.
close.
Yeah, it's close, but he's had an amazing year,
I know.
especially leading that team. So I would probably go Cade personally.
I would too, but it's very close. And like I think like Jalen Brown has not gotten he's gotten a good amount of flowers, but I don't even think he's gotten enough flowers for how incredible he was this season and how he was able to be the best player for that Boston team the majority of the year where Tatum wasn't there.
Yeah, for sure. Adelia, any thoughts on the MVP?
If he was eligible, I would give it to Cade Cunningham just because of the total turnaround in
Good news he
Detroit.
is.
Yes.
Is he? Okay,
But what
I'd give it to
happened
Him
is
him.
the NBA ruled that like because he was a game away, that like it was extenuating circumstances enough that he is eligible. Both him and Luca, despite being a game or a two away,
Well,
I think Luca
Wemby
is
too, then,
two and
right?
Cade is
Because
one.
Wemby only played 64 games, from what I'm looking at.
I thought Wemby was eligible. I could
That's
be
what I'm
wrong.
saying. Like, I think he's eligible because of something.
Yeah.
Because this article says that he's eligible due to the rules, but it doesn't say what the rules are.
Okay.
Even though the rule is supposed to be 65 games.
So
So
he must have been added on that as well. The NBA sometimes, if there's extenuating circumstances on certain stuff, I think funny enough, the circumstances for Luca was like not the injury, but like the fact that he missed a game or two because his child was born and he went to that,
hmm
I believe, if I remember
yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
And so, but yeah, believe Wemby's
Oh,
eligible.
oh
So yeah.
yeah. He's eligible because they counted his NBA Cup final appearance towards the
Oh, that
total
makes
of
sense.
games. So he played 64 regular season games and the NBA Cup final.
That makes
There you
sense.
go. There you go. Look at that. Our statistician, Miss Adelia. Um,
I know how to Google. That's all it is.
that's, hey, you're doing better than me.